What if I told you that one of the most powerful health tools in the world is sitting in your kitchen right now, probably shoved to the back of a shelf, forgotten behind your flour and sugar? Most people walk past it every single day without a second thought. They use it to make their biscuits rise, maybe toss it into the fridge to absorb a bad smell, and that's it. They have no idea that this tiny little box holds secrets that have been quietly studied by scientists, used by elite athletes, and recommended by medical researchers for some of the most serious health challenges people face today. We're talking about baking soda. Plain, simple, ordinary baking soda. And before you roll your eyes and think you've heard this before, let me stop you right there, because I promise you, what you're about to learn is going to completely change the way you look at this humble white powder forever. The question isn't whether baking soda works. The question is why nobody ever told you just how powerful it really is. Here's something that should bother you. Over 80% of people who use baking soda regularly have absolutely no idea about its most remarkable and life-changing properties. Think about that for a second. 80%. That means the vast majority of people using this ingredient every week are only scratching the surface of what it can actually do. Experts in natural health circles have quietly been calling baking soda one of the most underestimated substances on Earth. And the deeper you dig into the research, the more you realize just how true that statement really is. This isn't folklore or old wives' tales. There are peer-reviewed studies, clinical trials, and published research backing up the benefits we're going to talk about today. This is real science, real results, and real potential sitting right there in your cupboard. So why doesn't everyone know about this? That's exactly the question we're going to answer together, and by the time we're done, you're going to wonder how you ever went this long without knowing. Let's start with something that affects almost everyone in one way or another, the idea of toxins building up in your body and slowing you down. Now, the word detox gets thrown around a lot these days, usually attached to expensive juice cleanses or complicated supplement programs that cost a small fortune. But here's what most people don't know. Baking soda has a long and well-documented history of supporting the body's natural ability to cleanse and rebalance itself, and it doesn't cost you more than a few pennies per use. When you dissolve baking soda in water, it becomes alkaline, meaning it has the ability to neutralize acids both inside and outside of the body. This is actually a big deal because modern diets, stress, pollution, and a dozen other everyday factors push our bodies toward an overly acidic state, which can leave you feeling sluggish, run down, and just not quite right. Baking soda works as a gentle counterbalance, helping to restore the kind of internal harmony your body is always trying to maintain. One of the most soothing ways people have used baking soda for centuries is in the form of a bath soak. A generous amount dissolved in warm water creates a solution that calms irritated skin, reduces itchiness, and draws out the kind of surface-level impurities that can leave your skin feeling uncomfortable and inflamed. People who deal with eczema, minor rashes, sunburn, or even just dry and itchy skin after a long week swear by this remedy, and it's not hard to understand why. The alkaline water gently balances the skin's environment, soothing the irritation rather than adding more chemicals to an already aggravated surface. Now, the scientific community is still working on fully quantifying the skin detox effects, and the honest answer is that more research is needed in that specific area. But what is well documented, and this is where things get really interesting, is what baking soda can do internally. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that sodium bicarbonate supplementation actually helped slow the progression of chronic kidney disease by reducing the dangerous buildup of acid in the blood. Let that sink in for a moment. This means that for people living with kidney disease, something as accessible and inexpensive as baking soda could genuinely make a difference in the progression of their condition when used under proper medical supervision. Your kidneys are responsible for filtering your blood and removing waste, and when they're struggling, acids build up in the bloodstream in a process called metabolic acidosis. Baking soda works to neutralize that acid, easing the burden on kidneys that are already working overtime. Of course, your body is remarkably intelligent and already works hard every day to maintain its own pH balance. Baking soda isn't meant to replace that process or to be used recklessly. Overusing it can absolutely lead to side effects, and we're going to talk about that in detail later. But used thoughtfully and wisely, it offers a gentle, affordable, and surprisingly effective way to support the detoxification systems your body already has in place. The key word here is support. and sometimes that's exactly what the body needs. Now let's talk about something everyone cares about, your smile, because the second major area where baking soda absolutely shines is oral health, and the science here is genuinely impressive. If you've ever brushed your teeth with baking soda, even just once, you probably remember that unusually clean, smooth feeling your teeth had afterwards. That's not a coincidence, and it's not your imagination. Baking soda is a mild abrasive, which means it physically scrubs away the surface stains that accumulate on your teeth from coffee, tea, red wine, and the dozens of other foods and drinks we consume every day that slowly dull the natural whiteness of our enamel. Unlike the harsh bleaching agents found in many commercial whitening products, baking soda is gentle enough to clean without causing significant damage to the enamel when used correctly and in moderation. The result is teeth that look brighter, feel cleaner, and actually are cleaner, not just cosmetically treated to appear that way. But the oral health story goes much deeper than just whitening, and this is the part that most people miss entirely. Your mouth is a complex ecosystem, and the pH environment inside it plays a massive role in determining whether harmful bacteria thrive or struggle to survive. When your mouth becomes too acidic, which happens after eating, drinking sugary beverages, or even just through the natural buildup of plaque, it creates the perfect breeding ground for the kind of bacteria that cause cavities, gum disease, and persistent bad breath. Baking soda's alkaline nature works to neutralize those acids, disrupting the environment that harmful bacteria need to survive and multiply. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Dentistry confirmed that toothpastes containing baking soda were significantly more effective at removing plaque and whitening teeth than those without it. Another study showed measurable reductions in the harmful bacterial population of the mouth after regular baking soda use. These are not minor findings. These are the kinds of results that should be making headlines, and yet most people are still spending money on elaborate oral care products when part of the answer has been sitting in their pantry all along.
The key to getting the most out of baking soda for your teeth is using it properly and not overdoing it. Because it is abrasive, using it every single day with aggressive brushing can, over time, wear down the enamel that protects your teeth. Dentists who recommend it limit use to a few times per week and always pair it with a soft, bristled toothbrush. A little goes a long way, and when you use it correctly, the results are genuinely noticeable. Your mouth feels cleaner, your breath is fresher, and over time, the surface stains that have been dimming your smile begin to fade. This is what affordable, effective, and natural oral care actually looks like. No expensive gadgets, no monthly subscription boxes, no ingredients you can't pronounce. Just a simple white powder and the knowledge of how to use it right. Let's move on to something that millions of people suffer from on a near daily basis, and it's something that has a way of completely ruining an otherwise good evening: heartburn. That burning, uncomfortable sensation that creeps up from your stomach into your chest and throat after a meal is one of the most common health complaints in the world. It happens when stomach acid travels back up into the esophagus where it absolutely doesn't belong, irritating the delicate lining and creating that familiar burning feeling. For some people, it happens occasionally after a big, spicy meal. For others, it's a chronic problem that affects their quality of life in a very real way. Commercial antacids exist, of course, and they work reasonably well, but they're also costly if you need them often, and many people prefer not to rely on packaged medications for something that happens so regularly. This is where baking soda steps in with a solution that is simple, fast, and backed by solid science. Mixing a single teaspoon of baking soda in a glass of water and sipping it slowly is one of the oldest home remedies for heartburn in existence, and it works because of basic chemistry. Baking soda is alkaline, and stomach acid is, well, acidic. When the two meet, the alkaline baking soda neutralizes the acid almost immediately, eliminating the chemical that was causing the irritation in the first place. The relief is typically fast, often within minutes, making it one of the quickest-acting heartburn remedies available. A review published in the journal Gastroenterology and Hepatology formally recognized sodium bicarbonate as an effective, fast-acting antacid, validating what millions of people have known through personal experience for generations. There's something deeply reassuring about that, knowing that this remedy your grandmother might have used is the very same one that medical literature is confirming works. No gimmicks, no marketing, just chemistry doing exactly what chemistry is supposed to do. Now, here's where it gets interesting from a health perspective that many people haven't considered. Fungal infections are incredibly common, often embarrassing, and notoriously difficult to treat completely. Things like athlete's foot, ringworm, and nail fungus affect enormous numbers of people, and while over-the-counter antifungal creams can help, they don't always get the job done, and repeated infections are frustratingly common. Fungi thrive in warm, moist, slightly acidic environments, and that description fits a lot of places on the human body, particularly the feet. What baking soda does when applied topically is create an alkaline environment on the skin's surface, and that alkalinity is deeply inhospitable to fungal organisms. It essentially changes the rules of the environment, making it one where fungi struggle to survive and reproduce. A study published in the journal Mycopathologia found that a solution of just 10 grams of baking soda per liter of water was able to inhibit the growth of 80% of the fungal strains that were tested. That is a remarkable number, and it tells a very clear story about the antifungal potential of this ingredient. Using baking soda for fungal infections is straightforward and requires nothing fancy. A thick paste made from baking soda and a small amount of water can be applied directly to the affected skin, whether that's between the toes, on the heel, or on any other area showing signs of infection. Leaving it on for a few minutes before rinsing allows the alkaline properties time to work on the fungal environment. Alternatively, adding a generous amount of baking soda to a foot bath and soaking for 15 to 20 minutes is a popular and effective method for dealing with athlete's foot specifically. Many people who try this approach report noticeable improvements in itching and discomfort within just a few treatments. And because baking soda is gentle, non-toxic, and free from the harsh chemicals found in many pharmaceutical antifungal products, it's an appealing option for people who prefer a more natural approach or who have sensitive skin. Of course, persistent or severe fungal infections should always be evaluated by a healthcare professional, but as a first line of defense or a complementary treatment, baking soda is genuinely impressive. Urinary tract infections are something that an enormous number of people, particularly women, deal with at various points in their lives. The burning sensation during urination, the constant urge to go even when there's nothing left, the deep discomfort that makes it hard to focus on anything else. UTIs are miserable experiences. Antibiotics are the standard medical treatment and should absolutely be used for confirmed infections, but there's a growing interest in complementary approaches that can ease the discomfort and potentially support the body's own defenses during the recovery process. Baking soda has emerged as one of the more promising options in this area, and understanding why requires a quick look at how UTIs actually work. The bacteria responsible for most urinary tract infections, particularly E. coli, prefer an acidic environment in which to grow and proliferate. When urine is more acidic, these bacteria are essentially in their comfort zone. When the pH of the urine shifts towards alkaline, their environment becomes significantly less hospitable. Drinking a small amount of baking soda dissolved in water helps to alkalinize the urine, creating precisely that less hospitable environment. Beyond just potentially slowing bacterial growth, the shift to less acid urine also has a direct and noticeable effect on one of the most uncomfortable UTI symptoms, that burning sensation during urination, which is significantly worsened by high acid levels. A study published in the Japanese Journal of Urology followed 33 women with recurrent urinary tract infections who were given sodium bicarbonate as part of their treatment protocol. After 4 weeks, a significant number of participants reported notable improvements in their symptoms, including reduced pain and discomfort during urination. These are real women experiencing real relief, which is exactly the kind of evidence that matters when we're talking about day-to-day quality of life. To be clear, baking soda is not a replacement for antibiotics when a UTI has been properly diagnosed, but as a complementary approach to ease the ride while the body and any medication do their work, it offers something meaningful and accessible. Canker sores are the kind of small problem that can cause disproportionately large amounts of discomfort. These tiny, painful ulcers that appear inside the mouth, on the gums, the cheeks, or under the tongue have a way of making every sip of coffee, every bite of food, and even ordinary conversation feel like a minor ordeal. They develop for a variety of reasons, including stress, minor injuries to the mouth, certain nutritional deficiencies, and even some foods. What makes them particularly frustrating is that they don't have a quick cure, and many commercial treatments are either expensive, numbing rather than healing, or just simply not very effective. Baking soda, however, offers a genuinely helpful approach that goes beyond just masking the pain. Because canker sores are worsened by an acidic oral environment, and because baking soda is alkaline, using it as a mouth rinse directly addresses the underlying chemistry that's making the sores so uncomfortable and slow to heal.
Here's one that might really catch you off guard, especially if you think of baking soda purely as a kitchen ingredient. Athletes, including some at the elite level, have been using sodium bicarbonate as a performance enhancer for decades, not through some elaborate supplement stack or cutting-edge sports science protocol, but through simple baking soda mixed with water. And the science behind it is fascinating. During high-intensity exercise, your muscles produce lactic acid as a byproduct of the intense energy demands being placed on them. As lactic acid accumulates, it causes the familiar burning sensation in your muscles and the drop in performance that eventually forces you to slow down or stop. That feeling of hitting a wall during a sprint or a hard cycling effort is partly the result of this acid buildup changing the pH environment inside your muscle tissue. Your body works to buffer this acidity naturally, but it has limits. Sodium bicarbonate works by acting as an external buffering agent that helps neutralize the lactic acid buildup, giving your muscles a slightly extended window of optimal performance before fatigue sets in. In practical terms, this means you may be able to sprint harder, swim faster, or push through a tough cycling interval for longer before your muscles cry out for a break. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research reviewed multiple studies and found that sodium bicarbonate supplementation significantly improved performance in high-intensity, short-duration activities, including sprinting, swimming, and cycling. The athletes who supplemented with baking soda before their workouts showed a measurable delay in the onset of fatigue and were able to maintain peak output for longer than those who didn't. Athletes typically consume about a teaspoon of baking soda mixed with water roughly 60 to 90 minutes before a training session. The important caveat here is that too much can cause gastrointestinal discomfort, including bloating and nausea, so starting with a smaller amount and working up gradually is the smart approach. If you're an athlete or even just someone who trains hard regularly, this is one of the most cost-effective performance tools you're probably not using. Now we need to talk about the kidneys in more depth, because this is one of the most clinically significant areas where baking soda has shown genuine promise, and it's a conversation that too few people are having. Chronic kidney disease affects hundreds of millions of people worldwide, and it's a condition that tends to worsen progressively over time. One of the key drivers of that worsening is a condition called metabolic acidosis, which occurs when the kidneys are no longer able to remove enough acid from the blood. The resulting buildup of acid in the bloodstream accelerates damage to the kidneys themselves, creating a vicious cycle where kidney damage leads to more acid buildup, which leads to more kidney damage. Breaking that cycle is one of the most important things that can be done to slow the progression of CKD, and sodium bicarbonate offers a direct way to do exactly that. A landmark clinical study published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology followed patients with advanced chronic kidney disease and metabolic acidosis over an extended period. The findings were striking. Patients who took daily sodium bicarbonate supplements experienced a significantly slower decline in kidney function compared to those who didn't receive the treatment. Perhaps even more significantly, the group taking baking soda was substantially less likely to develop end-stage renal disease, the point at which the kidneys have failed to the extent that dialysis or a transplant becomes necessary. Blood bicarbonate levels, which are a key marker of acid-base balance in the body, also improved meaningfully in the supplemented group. For anyone living with kidney disease or caring for someone who is, this research represents something genuinely hopeful. Of course, this isn't something to self-administer without medical guidance. The sodium content of baking soda means that in people with compromised kidney function, blood pressure issues, or fluid retention problems, unsupervised use could create new complications. But under proper medical supervision, the evidence is compelling. Arthritis affects hundreds of millions of people around the world, and for many of them, it's not just an occasional inconvenience, it's a daily reality that shapes how they move, what they can do, and how they feel about their bodies and their lives. Rheumatoid arthritis in particular is an autoimmune condition, meaning the immune system essentially attacks the body's own joints, creating inflammation, pain, swelling, and stiffness that can be profoundly limiting. Medications exist to manage it, and physical therapy helps, but many people living with arthritis are looking for additional natural approaches that might offer some relief without added side effects. The research on baking soda in this area is both surprising and genuinely exciting. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Immunology explored what happened when participants drank a daily solution of baking soda and water over a period of time, and the results were remarkable. The researchers found that baking soda water actually influenced the body's immune response in ways that could be meaningful for autoimmune conditions. Specifically, the study found that drinking baking soda water appeared to help activate the body's anti-inflammatory response while simultaneously calming the autoimmune activity that drives conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. Both the animal and human participants in the study showed measurable reductions in inflammatory markers, and the balance of immune cells shifted towards a less inflammatory state. What this means in practical terms is that baking soda may help soothe the overactive immune response that causes the joint destruction associated with rheumatoid arthritis, potentially reducing pain, swelling, and the long-term damage that comes with chronic inflammation. For people who have been living with the daily grind of arthritis pain, the idea that something this simple and affordable could offer some meaningful relief is nothing short of extraordinary. More research is absolutely needed to fully understand the long-term effects and optimal dosing, but the direction the science is pointing is genuinely promising and worth paying attention to. Gout is a form of arthritis that deserves its own discussion because of how distinctively and intensely painful it can be. People who have experienced a gout attack describe it as one of the most severe pain experiences of their lives, often occurring suddenly in the night and centered in the big toe, though it can affect other joints as well. The cause is a buildup of uric acid in the bloodstream, which eventually crystallizes in the joints, and those sharp crystals cause the intense inflammation and pain that characterizes a gout attack. Managing gout means finding ways to lower uric acid levels, reduce inflammation, and ideally prevent future attacks from occurring. Baking soda addresses this through its alkalining effects on the blood and urine. Because uric acid is more soluble in alkaline conditions, shifting the body's pH level towards alkaline makes it harder for those painful crystals to form and easier for existing uric acid to be dissolved and eliminated through urine. A study published in the Journal of Arthritis and Rheumatism found that alkalining agents like sodium bicarbonate can help dissolve uric acid crystals and promote their excretion through the urine, offering meaningful relief from the acute symptoms of gout. Many people who experience gout find that drinking a glass of water mixed with half a teaspoon of baking soda during a flare-up helps ease the intensity of the pain and reduce the swelling in affected joints, making movement less agonizing and recovery faster. Beyond just acute relief, the regular maintenance of a slightly more alkaline internal environment may also help reduce the frequency of attacks over time by keeping uric acid levels in a more manageable range. This is the kind of benefit that can have a real impact on someone's quality of life, because gout attacks don't just cause physical pain, they interrupt sleep, make it impossible to work or exercise, and create a constant background anxiety about when the next one might strike. Having a simple, accessible tool to help manage that is genuinely valuable.
Cold and flu season is something most of us dread, and for good reason. The combination of a sore, scratchy throat, a stuffed nose that won't drain, relentless fatigue, and the general misery of feeling unwell is something that can sideline you for days. Most people turn to over-the-counter cold medications, and while those can help with specific symptoms, they often come with their own side effects and don't actually address the underlying processes making you feel awful. Baking soda offers a different kind of support, one that works with your body's natural defenses rather than simply suppressing symptoms.
One of its most effective applications during a cold or flu is as a gargling solution. Mixing half a teaspoon of baking soda in a glass of warm water and gargling with it several times a day creates a soothing, alkaline environment in the throat that directly addresses two of the things making your sore throat so miserable: the irritation from acid reflux that often accompanies illness and the bacterial load that takes advantage of your compromised immune state. A study published in the Journal of the American Dental Association found that regular gargling with a baking soda solution significantly decreased throat irritation and reduced the microbial load in the mouth and throat, which translated to faster recovery from upper respiratory infections. Think about what that means. By simply changing the pH environment of your throat with a gargle solution that costs almost nothing, you can reduce the bacterial activity that's piling on to your already struggling immune system and create conditions in which your body can fight back more effectively. Baking soda can also be added to saline nasal rinses to help break down the thick mucus that clogs the nasal passages during a cold, making it easier to breathe and helping to flush out the pathogens that are causing the infection. This is the kind of multi-front support that makes a real difference in how quickly you recover and how bad you feel while you're getting there. Simple, effective, and always available. Now let's address something that is genuinely in the early but fascinating stages of scientific investigation and which deserves to be discussed thoughtfully and honestly. There is growing interest in the scientific community around the question of whether baking soda could play a supporting role in cancer treatment. Cancer cells are known to create an acidic microenvironment around themselves, and that acidity isn't just a byproduct of their metabolism. It actually serves a function. It helps protect cancer cells from the immune system and can make them more resistant to certain forms of treatment. Researchers began asking whether neutralizing that acidic environment through alkalining agents could make cancer cells more vulnerable to chemotherapy and other therapies. A significant study published in the journal Cancer Research in 2009 explored exactly this question using sodium bicarbonate in mouse models of metastatic breast cancer. The results were striking and have fueled ongoing research interest. The researchers found that injecting sodium bicarbonate reduced the acidity of the tumor environment significantly. This shift in pH slowed the spread of the cancer and made the tumor cells more susceptible to chemotherapy, suggesting that by altering the chemical environment around cancer cells, it might be possible to enhance the effectiveness of existing treatments. Scientists are now actively exploring whether antacids, including baking soda, could be safely incorporated alongside chemotherapy or other therapies to improve outcomes for patients. This is not science fiction. This is real, ongoing research being conducted by credentialed scientists at respected institutions. However, and this point is absolutely critical, this research is still in its early stages. The results in animal models, while genuinely promising, have not yet been replicated across large-scale human clinical trials, and baking soda should absolutely not be seen as a cancer cure or a replacement for any part of an established treatment plan. If you or someone you love is undergoing cancer treatment and you're curious about this area of research, the right step is to have that conversation with an oncologist who can evaluate it in the context of the specific situation. Finally, let's talk about something a little lighter, but still genuinely useful: body odor. It's a normal human experience, but it's also one that we all work hard to manage, and the commercial deodorant industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry built entirely on that effort. What most people don't know is that the mechanism behind body odor is actually quite simple. When sweat reaches the surface of your skin, bacteria that live on the skin break down the organic compounds in the sweat. And it's that bacterial breakdown process that produces the unpleasant smell, not the sweat itself. The acidic pH of sweat and skin surface create a comfortable environment for those odor-producing bacteria to do their work. Baking soda, with its alkaline nature, disrupts that environment. By neutralizing the acids in sweat and on the skin surface, it creates conditions where odor-causing bacteria struggle to thrive, and the result is meaningfully reduced body odor even through activity. A study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology found that sodium bicarbonate significantly reduced underarm odor when used as a topical application. Participants who applied baking soda to their underarms experienced a measurable reduction in the compounds responsible for body odor compared to controls. Beyond the science, baking soda as a deodorant has several practical advantages that commercial products don't offer. It contains no parabens, no aluminum compounds, no synthetic fragrances, and none of the other ingredients that people with sensitive skin often react badly to. For anyone who has struggled with rashes, irritation, or allergic reactions from commercial deodorants, baking soda mixed with a little coconut oil offers a genuinely effective, skin-friendly alternative. You simply apply a small amount to clean, dry underarms and let the chemistry do its work. Does it work for everyone? No, because everyone's body chemistry is different, but for many people it works remarkably well, especially when you factor in how inexpensive and natural it is compared to anything you'd find in a store. Before we wrap up, there is one thing that needs to be addressed clearly and directly, because as powerful as baking soda is, it is not for everyone in every situation, and knowing when to be careful is just as important as knowing the benefits. People with kidney problems need to exercise real caution because baking soda contains sodium, and when kidneys aren't functioning properly, the body may struggle to eliminate that excess sodium, potentially leading to fluid retention and blood pressure complications. Speaking of blood pressure, anyone who is already managing hypertension needs to be mindful of the sodium content in baking soda, particularly if they are using it regularly or in larger amounts. People with gastrointestinal conditions like gastritis, ulcers, or chronic acid reflux should consult a healthcare professional before using baking soda internally, because while it can help with occasional heartburn, it can also disrupt the stomach's acid balance in ways that might worsen some underlying conditions. Pregnant and nursing women should approach internal use with caution, as disrupting electrolyte balance can have implications for both mother and baby. And anyone with known sensitivities should always test a small amount first before using it more broadly, whether topically or internally. The through line in all of these cautions is the same. Baking soda is powerful, and like anything powerful, it needs to be used thoughtfully, in appropriate amounts, and with an awareness of your own health situation. What we've covered today is just the surface of a story that science is still actively writing about this remarkable, overlooked substance. From supporting the body's natural detoxification and improving the health of your teeth and gums, to relieving heartburn in minutes, fighting fungal infections, easing urinary tract discomfort, soothing canker sores, boosting athletic performance, supporting kidney function, calming arthritis inflammation, managing gout, helping you recover from colds faster, potentially playing a role in future cancer treatment protocols, and even replacing chemical-laden deodorants, baking soda has earned a reputation that goes beyond what most people give it credit for. The evidence is there, the research is there, and the cost is almost nothing. The most important thing you can take away from everything we've discussed today is this: information is only as valuable as what you do with it. You now know things that most people never bothered to find out. Use that knowledge wisely, talk to your healthcare provider about anything that applies to your specific situation, and start looking at that little box in your kitchen with the respect it genuinely deserves.